right, it is 9:05. We're going to go ahead and get started. We may have a few more people join us. I just want to say thank you to everyone for joining us for part 3 of our personal brand webinar series with Pensacola Young Professionals, as we have Brandi Gomez here, who is with Navy Federal Credit Union. And Brandi is also a member of PYP, and she's been a member for a couple years. But again, thank you everyone for joining us. And we had over 54 people register for this, so I think we're going to have some more people join us in the next few minutes. But I want to go ahead and introduce Brandi and give y'all some backstory about her. Brandi Gomez is a corporate communications strategist at Navy Federal Credit Union, a role that allows her to serve as a spokesperson, communications writer, and coordinator with internal and external partners. In 2018, Brandi served as the president of the Florida Public Relations Association Pensacola chapter. Her accomplishments include being recognized as an InWeekly Rising Star, graduate of the Leadership Pensacola, and receiving a Grand All Image Award from FPRA. Outside of the professional stuff, Brandi maintains a motherhood and lifestyle blog called Wing It All, which is, you should really read it. I love it. And finds her happiness in bettering the community and empowering others. And also, everyone congratulate Brandi because she had her baby Lola just about 2 or 3 months ago, Brandi?
3 months ago.
Yeah, so she has 2 little nuggets, and oh my goodness, the cutest things ever. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hand over the floor to Brandi. And Brandi, you tell us all about LinkedIn.
Okay, great. Can everyone hear me okay? I just want to make sure. All right. I'm going to switch my screen over here. All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining me today. This is a bit out of my comfort level. As you know, I serve in the Corporate Communications Department at Navy Federal Credit Union. So yes, I'm used to talking to media, but as far as giving presentations, this is definitely not in my realm. So I do want to say LinkedIn. I feel like this is something that has been, it's kind of come up and then come down. It's a thing, but now I feel like in the last few years, like I've really utilized this tool to just elevate my own personal brand and enhance professionally. So today I'll be giving you the tangible tips and tricks to elevate your personal brand and engage with your professional network. LinkedIn is a really powerful resource. It's for anyone and everyone, but learning how to be savvy with the app can be a little bit tricky. So let's start with a little bit about me. Bradley hit a lot of the top level things about me as far as where I work. But in the meantime, on the side, I also maintain a motherhood and lifestyle blog called Wing It All. So if you ever want to look for fun recipes or really just want that transparent lens into motherhood, you should follow me on my Instagram or connect with me on my blog. And I'm also a proud Argo, class of 2013. I see a bunch of Argos on the screen, so thank you all so much for your support. So a little bit on what we'll talk about today. They did email out a little worksheet, and we can be sure that that's sent out after the recording as well. It's just a guide to help you go through the presentation. I'm a big fan of don't feel like you have to write down all of the notes now, because I feel like it's better if you listen first and then go back and review the recording. So for a snapshot, today we're going to talk about really how to personalize your profile. Besides creating it, what are those things, those small things that you can do to improve your profile and get those views, have your network grow? So after that, we're going to talk about content strategy. I think this is one of the biggest questions that I get is, what am I supposed to post? How much am I supposed to post? And what is relevant to my networks? What do people want to see? So we're going to chat through that. We're going to talk about engaging and networking. There are 4 C's that I give for success and how to use LinkedIn, so I hope they'll be helpful for you. And then tools you can use. I have discovered over the last month multiple tools within LinkedIn that you probably didn't even know about, and so I'm really excited to share those with you. So first, let's talk about the basics. Obviously, you have to sign up for an account, but what goes beyond signing up for an account? And I think one of my #1 things that I look out, besides what you do, is your headshot. I've seen a couple of people have cell phone pictures, and that's fine. But there's also been some that are clearly like selfies in the car. And for me personally, I just feel like you should have a professional headshot, whether that's you and your best friend, you stand up against a wall and they take a shot of you, or you have someone go and take a picture of you. I think it was last year, there are multiple organizations, but PYP does this where they have a happy hour where they take professional headshots. So hopefully after all of this COVID mess, we can get to that and do that again. But your professional headshot matters. It's really the first impression of what people look at when they look at your profile. And a cover photo. This is something that is relatively new to LinkedIn, but instead of having like what looks like a geometric print, you can actually have a cover photo. So for me, I put a blue angel on the back of mine, one, because of the military focus of Navy Federal, and two, who doesn't love a good blue angel? So pick something that speaks to you. What are you interested in? Put a coffee shop, or I don't know, something that's gonna cause someone to talk about your profile. And then the other thing that you can do is customize your URL. So typically when you sign up for a LinkedIn, you're actually given a URL already. But if you go in through your settings, you can actually customize it. So for mine, it's linkedin.com/Brandi Gomez instead of whatever it would be like Brandi12345. So just make sure you go in and customize that. One, it'll help you in your search engine optimization. People will be able to find you a lot easier. And then two, it just looks cleaner when you put it on a resume and try to share your profile with those professional networks. The next thing that's really big is creating a bold headline and summary. Beyond looking at your name and your photo, this is going to be the top place that people will look. And what I say by that is if you're on your LinkedIn, if you go to search for instance, me, the headline that I chose was actually my title for where I work at Navy Federal, because typically most people that reach out to me, it has something to do with working at Navy Federal or my position. So I felt like the most relevant for me was to put my current title that I have. I've seen people put, like this morning I had someone connect with me and it said that she was a professional plate spinner. Like it was something fun. You can do that. Another thing to think about is those action words or keywords, or if you tuned in last week with Whitney, she talked about what were those adjectives that you wanted people to think about when they thought of you and your personal brand, and how can you sprinkle that into your profile. This is a great place to do that. If you're on the job hunt, I would say definitely put something in there like a team player, or something with passion for communications, or whatever it may be. That headline is really going to be what people are looking at and could gauge someone's interest in looking at your profile. The next part is the summary. The summary is your about section, if you will. I try to give this a little bit of flavor. So I put mine up on the screen for you, and it says, Brandi has a passion for content creation and cultivating community. She thrives in a culture of teamwork and strong values, finding her happiness in meaningful work and empowering others. So for me, I was looking at what are those words that really speak to me? Content creation, clearly I have a passion for that. Cultivating, another strong word. Culture, every employer wants to talk about how great their culture is, at least I hope so. So adding stuff like that to your about section is really going to tell people, you know, what is it that they're looking for? What's the bottom line for them? What can I expect from them in an interview? And what is it that they want to get out of this position as much as I want to get out of them? Because it is certainly a two-way street when you're looking for a position. And the last thing on here is just consider a call to action. I've seen a few about sections and even headlines that have said, download my white paper, or read my blog, or join me for my weekly podcast. Like you can easily start to add those call to action so that people feel like you're giving them value and not only are you connecting with them. Don't sell yourself short. this is a hard lesson I've had to learn throughout my professional career. I look back on posts on my Facebook where I've bragged about doing this or bragged about doing that, and I cringe a little bit. But I also realize with LinkedIn, it's really not a place for you to be humble. LinkedIn is about showcasing everything that you have from talents and skills and those projects that you work so hard on. So don't sell yourself short. There's a lot of information that LinkedIn asks you for as far as your professional work experience. You also have to put in if you've gotten any accolades, do you serve on any boards, do you have any awards that you've earned, and a big one is your contact information. Add everything. Don't think that anything is too much. You definitely want to put it all on the table because essentially this is your online resume. Sprinkle in those keywords that we talked about, things like proactive or initiate, coordinate, energetic, sit down and think about those words and do try to put them throughout your profile because it will help. Even when people go to search for certain candidates, they'll look for those keywords. So make sure that those are in your profile. And then the one big thing that I don't want anyone to skimp on is their volunteerism. A lot of times we think, I'm just helping out my church because that's what I'm supposed to do. Or I went on a mission trip, but that's not really volunteerism. Or I helped with this fundraising committee. So everything counts as far as that goes. Don't skimp on it. Put everything in there. If there's one thing that I can say Navy Federal does look at is it matters to them if you're involved in the community. And a lot of other employers are the same way. They want to see that you're not only going to show up to work, but you truly care about where you are. And being able to bring to the table that you've worked on X, Y, and Z project, and it was because you genuinely wanted to, not because you had to, I think that speaks volumes. And it's really something that you should spend time to put down all of your volunteer work. And for a bonus tip, you can actually create, so for instance, I have a friend, Callie, who works for Cat Country, but she's also recently just launched for her consulting page. You can create a personal page, but if you have a side hustle or you're a consultant, you can create a business page. Just make sure that the business page is different content, and we'll talk about that more, than your actual personal page. You'll want to make sure that your business page has your logo. That's a great place to differentiate between your personal and your professional page. So just make sure that avenue is there. I also talk about if you're part of an organization, for instance, I'm really involved in the Florida Public Relations Association, and they have a business page. It's a great way to even just showcase those professional networks that you're in, or if you serve on a board, I highly encourage that you bring back to your board that they create a business page. It's a great way just to get more involved outside of Facebook and really target those professionals. Content is queen. Most say content is king, and I'm a little biased. Content is queen over here. But we're going to talk about what is it that people want to see? What should I post? That could be a beast in itself. So let's chat about it. So content that always wins. I have been trying out just these simple ways of posting content and types of content for the last, I would say, year or so. And these are the ones that I find to be the most successful. They get the most impressions. So hopefully this guides you in the right way. Of course, everyone has their own take on content. This is just what I find to be most engaged. People want to see a human behind social media. I mean, clearly you're posting, but they want to connect to you. What is it that you can post to allow people to really figure out who you are outside of the volunteer experience and your work experience? So let's go. Sorry, I'm trying to go down on my notes. Think about your content as an ad for your business. So an ad for you. This is your online resume. It engages people and brings them back again and again. There's a reason why you follow those certain pages on Instagram or Facebook, because you like their content. So think about that in creating the content you are making today. LinkedIn's a great place to publish that original content, engaging pieces that position your company. We do a lot of work with our executive leadership at Navy Federal as far as making sure that they're positioned as a thought leader, whether that's sharing news industry articles or whether that's sharing their own opinion on current things going on in the news. It's really important just to make sure that you're thinking of those avenues. Because at the end of the day, you're the expert. There's a reason why people are going to want to hire you, and that's because you are the expert in your field. Another thing that always goes over really well is storytelling or lessons. I think it's really easy for us all to share those exciting moments that went really, really well. But the truth is, not everything is going to go perfectly. Storytelling is, I think, where I'm most comfortable. Share your wins and share your failures. If something didn't go easily, share it. What's the harm in doing that? I think it shows that you can be transparent and authentic in your posts. People want to see who you really are, and they want to learn about you and your passions. So I'll show a couple of examples coming up of all of these things, and hopefully that'll help you in your content creation. Another thing is your volunteer work. I spoke about this, but I'm telling you, if you're at an event and you're able to take pictures, do it. There's no harm in you saying, I helped at a beach cleanup this weekend, or I read stories to kiddos. Show what makes you happy. I mean, people want to see that. And as far as the business page, you can do very similar things, but I'll talk more about that strategy in a couple of slides. At the end of the day, you really want your content to give these three things. So whether it's value and you're telling them something that they could find helpful in their daily job, or something that they can take back to their employer and say, hey, I saw this on LinkedIn. This was pretty neat. You have to give them something that is going to help them in some way. And definitely authenticity is so important when it comes to social media. I think we all know that. It's why viral videos get as big as they are. It's like, I think about the video with the mom and the Chewbacca mask. The reason why that we like that so much is because it was authentic. It was her real self. Make sure you're doing that through your social media. And to just be transparent. I think it's, like I said, it's hard to share those moments that were a little bit more difficult than others. But for instance, I'm already coming up with kind of this post in my mind. I was telling Bradley I dropped my kids off this morning to daycare, and they're still transitioning back to going when they've been in quarantine with their mother for the last 3 months. And my toddler did not want to go. He had a full-on fit. So let me just tell you that battling the mom guilt is real right now, and I think it's really important, even on LinkedIn, to share those moments. You are someone outside of being just a professional every day and showing up to work. You are a person, and I think it is perfectly fine for you to share those moments in your life. So one that I actually posted on the screen, it's actually one of my most popular posts, I would say, on my LinkedIn, is actually a surprise baby shower that my corporate communications team threw for me at Navy Federal. The majority of my team works in Virginia, and I had no clue this was happening. My team locally had already thrown a really nice shower for me, and so I was thrilled, but they actually completely blindsided me and threw me this surprise baby shower. So that's them in the background on the screens. Felt like they were actually there. But fortunately, my boss caught this awesome behind-the-scenes photo of how excited I was, and I posted it. Not only is it a shout-out for the business I work for, but it just shows that you can be innovative in the workplace, and these kinds of things are just so fun to share. So if you have a team that you really enjoy working with and you're able to take pictures like this, I highly encourage you to do so. It really was fun to just show people that it's not all business all the time. Here's a couple of more posts that I've shared. There's one of our fitness facility. Again, make sure you run this through whoever you need to make sure this is okay for you to post. But we just expanded our campus. So I said, first of all, wow. I mean, it's an incredible gym. So I posted a picture of it, just say, wow, you know, this is incredible that Navy Federal really values me and being the best person that I am at work and outside of work. So that got a lot of traction as well. I'm sure our recruiters at work really appreciated it as well. And then one post that I'm actually most proud of is I assisted our Senior Vice President of Greater Pensacola with a presentation he did for last year's Studer Community Institute. I helped him in writing the keynote, and for me, truth be told, this was honestly the most proud I've ever been of a project. A lot of months went into this, anxiety, a few tears. So when that was done, first of all, a huge sigh of relief, but secondly, I wanted to make sure people knew, like, I was so proud to sit there and watch him give this presentation I worked so hard for. So just don't be afraid to kind of brag a little bit about the work you've done. There's nothing wrong with that. And I feel like it's good to toot your own horn every now and then, especially if you're in that position for looking for a new position or, you know, possibly pivoting to a new career. You know, it's really good to share those posts that just they relate to. And you've probably seen in a couple of the posts I've shared now is emojis. It's okay to use emojis on LinkedIn. I actually prefer it. And make sure that you tag the businesses and use hashtags. That's also going to get you some more engagement on the platform. Let's see. Another big thing to think about with your content is just to make sure that it's relevant. Of course, you don't want to share things that are completely off the wall. You want to find those things that are going to be interesting, not only through industry news, but something that people are going to be able to connect to. So I wouldn't recommend sharing, you know, a random article about top 10 reasons to watch this show. I mean, that's just not really going to be interesting for people to look at. Two more posts that I'll quickly run through. I posted something about paying off my student loans. Any of you know, student loans are terrible and they suck. So when I paid off my student loans, that was a huge feat for me. I am so proud to say I don't have a student loan anymore. So, and as a first generation college student, this is even bigger deal for me. I didn't have any help as far as that goes. So even things like this, do not be afraid to share. Like, that is such a big deal. And then something else is just if for instance, your business that you work for sends out news releases, it's great to share those, especially if you find the article in the local newspaper. It's really great if you can share that hard work that they put into. I can speak from experience. PR people put in a lot of work to get coverage from newspapers. So sharing that will get you some brownie points with them. Let's see. So here are the 4 C's to succeed. I really follow these as far as it goes, and this is what I've seen the most success with. So there's also a couple spaces on your worksheet if you want to jot some notes down for them, and hopefully this will be easy for you to remember. The first one is connect. Obviously, I think that is probably pretty obvious because on LinkedIn, instead of your followers, they're called connections. So in this particularly, you want to find experienced professionals in the industry. I speak to this specifically in for if you're looking for a position. And right now, there are a lot of people within COVID pandemic that have lost their job and are unemployed. And Katten, I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, so sorry, but I saw your comment about being unemployed, and I really feel for you. I would say that in this time right now, I would try to, first of all, do some soul seeking to figure out what it is you're passionate about, and then try to connect with those seasoned professionals on LinkedIn or even those even new in the industry, just to try to connect with them. Maybe they could share some advice with you, or I think it's good to make those virtual connections so that if one day you do apply for a position there, you never know. They may actually be on your interview panel or reviewing your application. So connect with experienced people, reach out to them and build relationships, ask for information. There's nothing wrong with reaching out to one of them and say, hey, do you have any advice for me? Now, I probably wouldn't reach out to the president and CEO of a company, but hey, if you want to, I would probably reach out to those that are in more of the mid-level career and ask them what it is that they could offer you. And chances are probably 9 times out of 10, people are more than happy to respond to you and give you that advice. I know for me personally, I don't mind giving anybody advice. I'll tell you what I did. It may not be, 100% the right way to do it or what everyone tells you to do, but I will at least give you the advice and I'll respond to your message. So I don't think it hurts to try, so just remember that. Another part of that is just to remember that every expert was once a beginner. And I think that's why I feel so passionately about responding to people who may have just graduated. You were once in their seat. So to be able to pay it back and pay it forward to them is such a big deal. They are craving for that information right now. And especially I think about those recent grads right now who didn't get that graduation or are just at a loss for where to even start in the job market because travel isn't exactly back to normal. A lot of people are depending on those virtual interviews. So what is it that you can give them to make them feel more confident about the direction that they're going? The next C would be consume. I've heard, you hear all the time, like you are what you consume. And I think that's so true, even when it comes to our personal social media feeds. Whatever you're scrolling through, because all of us are scrolling, what is it that you're looking at? What is it that you're digesting all day long? It's really important that you apply that same thought process to your LinkedIn. So with that, you're going to want to follow companies that interest you, whether that be a retailer that you shop with all the time or maybe an industry you want to dive into. You want to go ahead and follow those companies. Not only is it a great way for you to connect with that brand and to learn more about them, it's a great place for you to find those connections that work there. And additionally, it's a great way for you to share content. If you like something that a brand shared, for instance, I really enjoy looking at not only what other credit unions share, but personally, I really like following brands that are a little bit more candid on LinkedIn or even just professionals. I follow a professional, her name is Chelsea Croft, and she's a millennial expert. Since 22 years old, she's been on Good Morning America telling people, kind of being the voice of the professional millennial, and I think that is so inspiring. I also follow clearly Rachel Hollis, if you know me or anything with the Hollis Company. So find those brands that you really want to consume their content and something that you'd be willing to share. Comment. I think this is huge. This is not only going to boost your engagement, because in order to get engagement, you've got to give it. And you can't expect for people just to interact with you just because. It's a two-way street as far as engagement goes on LinkedIn. So commenting. I know all of us can speak to the fact that we appreciate likes on Instagram and Facebook. Same goes for LinkedIn. You want to show social media love when you can, and that's whether that's reacting to posts. On LinkedIn, you can actually I think it's celebrate, wow, love. There's like 5 different reactions that you can pick, very similar to Facebook. So it's important that you react to those posts. And then also write comments. If you see someone share that they've had their anniversary at their work, say, hey, congrats. Or if you see a company is about to launch a big campaign, say, I can't wait to see what that looks like. There's a lot of posts on LinkedIn, specifically with your connections, that you can easily interact with. But the one thing that I would say in terms of this is to come from a genuine place. I think people have gotten really good at reading the screen. I can tell if someone's being genuine, and I can tell if someone's just clicked the simple sometimes they'll give you pre-filled answers on your LinkedIn. So it'll say, Brandi's celebrating her 1-year anniversary at Navy Federal. And it'll give me 5 options like, congrats, Brandi, happy work anniversary. And don't get me wrong, I appreciate those, but I think it goes so much further, even if you were just to add a smiley face or just a personal message like, congrats, Brandi, I hope you're doing really well. Something besides just what that pre-filled answer is, because people can tell if you just clicked a button or not. Does the work for you? So just try to get in that comment section and people will notice. I know who my connections are, who really are intrigued with the stuff that I post, and it means a lot to me. Next step would be contribute. This is where we talk about how many times to post. There are different rules. Everybody has their own opinion on how much to post and what kinds of stuff to post, how often. But for me, I would focus your efforts on the solid content. So it is most definitely quality over quantity. Don't get paralyzed about the expectation to post. I think sometimes we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Oh, I need to post today. I would much rather see something that has a lot of good meat to it and something that really is something you put thought into than something that's just a link that you threw out there. I would much rather see something that you clearly are very passionate about instead of just throwing something. So share 1 to 2 solid posts per week. I think that's plenty. And sometimes you may go a couple weeks without sharing, and that's okay. In those lull times where you don't have anything to share, that's when I would say comment more, engage more, react more, so you still remain relevant. And it also helps within the LinkedIn algorithm. Just because you're not posting all the time, that's okay. LinkedIn's still going to recognize the fact that you are such a fan of other brands and you're actually interacting with them on LinkedIn. So next I'll go over some tools you can use. These are those ones that I was telling you about. They get me super excited because I learned about a lot of them within the last couple of weeks. And I think that you're going to be pretty excited about them as well. The first up is LinkedIn Learning. If you've never checked out LinkedIn Learning, it is legit. I've started the free trial. And in LinkedIn Learning, you can learn about business, creative, or technology skills to really push you further, both personally and professionally. So I saw something about they've got stuff for millennials, millennial marketing, and in follow-up, I'll send Bradley some of my favorite courses that maybe he can share with you as well. But you can take virtually anything. They lay out the top courses of the week. You can take things about being mindful. What are the top habits of a high performer at work? There's all kinds of learning that you can do. So I would at least sign up for the free trial. It definitely, I think there is a cost annually, or you can pay per month to continue that. But if you're someone that's kind of in between positions, or maybe you feel a little complacent at your job, this is a great way for you to add those skills and build your resume. Take these courses. I know for me, personally, when I do my annual review with my boss, I actually write down all of those classes that I took outside of the workplace. What was the meeting that I went to? What was the webinar? Like, for instance, put this on there. Write down all those professional development opportunities and what you're doing outside of the workplace to better yourself. Because even though there may not be a growth opportunity for you right now in the position you're in, these are certainly going to get you in the right place. And it's going to show that you're taking that initiative outside of the workplace. This one. Okay, so slide into the DMs. I have a lot of thoughts about this. There are some people that will kind of like a cold call. They'll send you a random DM. And first of all, when people connect with me, if I see, I'm just going to be completely honest about it. If I see that you're, for instance, in insurance, 9 times out of 10, they reach out to me to try to sell me insurance. Don't get me wrong, I got my own insurance, I'm good, but that honestly, it turns me off so bad to know that you just connected with me just to try to sell me something. I mean, you could at least ask me how I'm doing before you try to sell me something. So with this, my advice would be, it's okay to slide into DMs. It's okay to send someone a message. The way that I would handle this is make sure that person is the right person to contact, make sure you're professional about it, and I would be straightforward in what it is you're hoping to get out of this interaction. I think a good example would be, I had someone recently reach out to me about helping them with a project and sitting down with them just to kind of look at their social media and how they use it and what are some tips and tricks that I could give them. They were very friendly. They came out straightforward, and I knew what the expectation was from the interaction. Now, there are some that I don't understand what the message was for, and for me, it comes off a little bit odd. So definitely my advice to you, especially if you're going to seek professional advice from other connections, be very straightforward and candid with the position that you're in and ask for what it is that you want. I wouldn't beat around the bush when it comes to messaging, especially through LinkedIn. These professionals, chances are they're just hopping on real quick to check their updates and then get back to work. Another thing that I've learned about recently is the ability to send a voice message. There's actually a class that I sat in on about LinkedIn and things like these tools. And she had recently started connecting with people through voice messages. One, people can hear your voice. If you're comfortable with doing that, I would say try it. Two, it's a little bit more of a personal approach. I think I would probably react a little bit better if someone sent me a voice message, but everybody has their own opinion on that. Another way to, again, engage, get personal with someone is to congratulate others on a work anniversary. Or for instance, if you know someone professionally, but you're not super close on other social media channels, this is a great way to send them a message and say, hey, you know, I saw that you got this promotion at work. Congratulations. Or, hey, I saw that you're in need of help with this fundraising committee. Can I help you with that? Let me know. And one other thing that you'll see actually on the screen towards the bottom is you can get endorsements for your skills and recommendations. So for instance, because I have certain keywords within my profile, like blogging, public relations, social media, people can come, that are connected with me, can come on to my profile and endorse me for those skills. So if you're looking for a job, this is a great way to get people to say, yeah, she's really good at that, or yeah, he is an expert in that field. I would definitely go in there and take a skill quiz, fill out the actual skills that you want highlighted on your profile. And if there's some people that you're friendly with, see if they'll endorse you. There's nothing wrong with asking for that. And recommendations. Recommendations go a long way. When people are looking at your profile, they want to see what's the good stuff that they have to say about this person. So definitely go ahead and check that out as well. There's actually a way for you to send a message to one of your connections. So say it was a former boss or colleague. You can actually send them a message asking for them to give you a recommendation. It's a great way to do it. Click on more. This one I'm also like super excited about because I didn't even know this was a thing. This is where you'll find hidden tools within your profile where you can create a quick resume or share your profile with others. So if you go to your profile and at the top, you'll see where I circled it over here, click that more ... This is huge. Not only can you share your profile with other members, but you should know if I don't as a PDF and build a resume. Like, hello. No more looking for your last minute resume to update. If you're in a bind, you can just print out your LinkedIn and select what you want on there. So I actually did it. I want to show you what it looks like. Okay, so just one click. And this PDF downloaded. I didn't have to do any work, and it created me a digital resume. This is a very good looking resume. I mean, honestly, it's professional looking. It's got everything that someone needs to know right at the top of the page. So truly, I mean, it's a good template in itself. And the fact that I only had to click one button to get to this, incredible. And with this, if you wanted to customize what comes out, you actually can. That's where the build a resume comes in. You can select, say for instance, you had a job in there that you're just like, I only worked there for a couple of months, probably not relevant at the beginning of my career. I still have the Apple Market grocery store that I worked for in college. Probably would take that off at this point in my career, but seriously utilize this. It's also a really great way for you just to get a clear snapshot of what you've got on your LinkedIn and maybe do an audit. It's important to keep your content up to date on LinkedIn. So if you get that award, I would probably go in every quarter just to make sure everything's up to date. If you rolled off a board, make sure that you put the end date on there. So it's a great way to just get a good look at everything. Create a badge. I think this is so cool. If you have a personal website or a website that you've designated as an online resume, you can actually go to this page. It's within your settings for you to create a badge, and you can make this tile where you'll get the code and you can put it in on your website. I think this is going to be a game changer for businesses once they actually get on board. So I even think about, for instance, if PYP, they do have a LinkedIn page. I think it would be really cool to add this to the website. It's an easy way for your members to connect with you and learn more. So definitely something to consider if you have a business page for sure. And then check all of your settings. There is so much you can turn on and turn off when it comes to settings. You can actually let recruiters know you're open to opportunities. It actually comes up to say, Brandi is looking, not openly, because I get, like, you don't want your boss to say that you're open to opportunities, but recruiters have a special form of LinkedIn, and they can actually search with your matching career interests, and you'll come up. Another thing to look at is your privacy. So privacy goes as far as who can see the profile picture you selected, what's your first and last name. You can select based on what level connection, first, second, third. If you don't want people to see it, they don't have to. You can make it to where they can't search for you in Google. Of course, I recommend turning all that on if you are looking for a job, and what's there to hurt? It's a professional platform. So I think the more that you can get exposure to your profile, the better. And then lastly, I would say push notifications. I have the LinkedIn app on my phone, and it's really nice that I get those notifications, or an email. You can select email too, of when someone DMs me, when someone comments on something, because I think it's important to be really timely in your responses too. So just go through all the settings and read them carefully to make sure that you're getting the most out of your profile. And as a bonus tip that I just learned, so you don't have to deal with those awkward interactions with someone that may be trying to sell you something, is you can turn off the read receipts. This is something that I actually did. And for the reason I do this is because I like to respond with thoughtful responses. That's just the bottom line for me. So I don't want it to come off as rude if I've read someone's message and I don't respond for another 8 hours. So I personally have turned those off, and it might be something that you want to do as well. So with all of that, I am going to ask if anyone has any questions. I know that was a lot of content and a lot of information. Again, feel free to go back and rewatch this. But now I'm going to open the floor to all of you.
Just sit in the chat, everyone, a survey. It's a 3-question survey based off today's webinar. Just simple 3 questions. You can click on that, do it real quick, and just give us your feedback on today's workshop as well. Please ask Brandi any questions. That was a killer workshop, Brandi. I did not realize all that stuff.
I'm sure it's a lot of information.
It was. I was like, holy crap. I did not know all that. Oh.
All right, let's see.
Hannah's got a question for you.
Okay, what is the girl you follow on LinkedIn that talks about millennials? I'm going to type it down here because it's kind of a interesting spelling, but her name is Chelsea Cross, and she's gone on multiple news outlets. She's just honestly, for me, like millennial goals. I just find all of her content to be really interesting, and she gives us millennials a nice spin. You know, we get a lot of, I think, backlash sometimes for what we are, and she does a great job of making us sound great. Definitely someone to look into. Any other questions?
Got one.
Okay, let's see. Do you find yourself catering hashtags a little more delicately on LinkedIn compared to your Facebook? I would say yes. You definitely need to be strategic within your hashtag usage. So I probably wouldn't put Man Crush Monday on my LinkedIn, but I would say, here's what I do. I look at the post. First, I'll write out the post, add in the emojis. Then I look at what are some of those keywords that I can hashtag. So if you follow me on LinkedIn already, when I went to promote this webinar, I hashtag webinar. I added the hashtag professional development. What are going to be those key hashtags that someone could be searching for? So I would definitely be a little bit more delicate with that. I heard you mention for the resume that if you were only somewhere for a few months, it may not be worthwhile to put it on your resume. I'm always worried to omit a previous job on my resume to come across as trying to hide something. What's the best course of action? Okay, I can speak to this as far as I think all job experience is relevant both after college. So the reason I said that is because I worked at a deli for 6 years. I don't think anybody cares that I served up fried chicken every day. But I will say, if you were there for a short experience, I still feel as though that you got some value out of that. You either met a connection, you worked on a project, there's something you can speak to for that short amount of time. That's where you just have to get a little bit creative in those job interviews and explaining why it may have been that short period of time. But I also, there's a flip to that coin, in that if you felt like the position truly just wasn't valuable, don't include it. But also don't be surprised if they ask you in the interview, where was this lapse of time? Like, why didn't you have a position here? I would just try to, find a way to find value out of that position. Let's see. Someone asked, I may have missed this, but under experience, what is appropriate to list here? I see a lot of people listing their entire job description. Is that appropriate? I would say no. I typically try to bullet mine to about 4 to 5 bullets of top level. I mean, if I put everything that I did at my job, I think I would lose people. So I would say pick those top level things. Do you coordinate interviews with external relations, or are you responsible for the budget? I would put those top level bullets that can encompass the majority of your job. Of course, all of us have the hats. We wear many hats, and there's always that catch-all. So just try to, I would say 4 to 5 for sure. Do you do any active searching, looking for connections in your target market to really narrow down who you connect with? I actually do, probably not as much as I'd like to. But as far as active searching, I do look through those hashtags. That's a lot of times where I find connections that I really just enjoy their content because they're posting very relevant things to me. I'll also look within brands to see who's commenting. A lot of times employees of that brand are commenting on the brand. So I would definitely search for that. But to answer your question, Colleen, I probably need to be better about that. So I encourage you to do so. Bye, Megan. Thanks for tuning in. And Jackie. Are there any other questions? Well, I do have one last slide that's got my contact information. If anyone does think of anything, or they want to, of course, come connect with me on LinkedIn. Hopefully you'll find my stuff relevant. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn at Brandi Gomez. I put both my business email and my personal email on there. Either one is great. And then if you do want to follow me on Instagram and Twitter, it's a good time. And you can really see what I'm like behind the professional lens all the time. I share a lot of kids. So if that's not your thing, I probably wouldn't follow. But hopefully you and I can connect on some social media platform.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again, Brandi, for doing this. And thank you to everyone who has joined us for this whole 3-part webinar series. This was an awesome, awesome thing. And professional development is close to my heart because all it takes is one person. And it takes you to further continue to educate yourself and continuing to work on yourself and develop yourself. So thank you, Brandi, for doing this for us. And thank you, everyone, for joining us and being a part of this webinar series. We thank y'all so much. And again, that link for the survey is in the comment box if you just want to take it. It's 3 simple questions. Give us your quick feedback. And thank you, everyone, for doing this, and hope you all have a wonderful Wednesday.